Stories from the book St Charbel, from his contemporaries to our own era, by Father Hanna Skandar. We will meet again in heaven. Mark 3:31-35. Brigitta went again to visit her son in the monastery of Annea after he pronounced his solemn vows. She requested to see him urgently, but he didn't confront her. Instead, he said a few words to her from inside, while she stayed outside. She told him, "Thus you deprive me from seeing you, my son." She was astonished at his behavior. He replied, "If I don't see you now, we'll meet again in heaven." Sad and moved to tears, the mother went back home. Charbel had behaved so according to the novice policy, which says, "Do not speak with non-monks, even of your family and others." As for females, the novice should do his best, and the superior should not force him to meet them, and if he is obliged to do so, he must strive not to look at their faces and to talk only briefly with them, observing the monastic rules. A monk should strive to be away from women, even female relatives. Note: Corali, the founder of the Order of St Charbel, explained, "It is known that many of the hermits saddened their parents and relatives because they didn't allow them to talk with them, or to see them, or to spend time together, as it is well known from the biography of Father Simeon of the Pillar, and Father Benjamin and his brothers and others." Stories from St Charbel, from his contemporaries to our era. Chapter 1, Part 2. I give you rest. Matthew 11:28. He was tightly bound to his oath and his responsibilities. We couldn't give him even the slightest criticism about what he did in his entire life. His work, his behavior, and his appearance were all phenomenal, which imposed respect and reverence. He had never known an air of lassitude, even at the end of his life. Quite the contrary, he was growing more and more in righteousness, devotion, and piety. He practiced all the virtues in a way that surpassed everyone and every monk, constantly and consistently, without any weakness or fragility, promptly and willingly. He had no more thoughts than to think about God, no more tongue than to praise God, no more voice than to bless God. He was an example in the observance of the rules and the performance of his duties. To the point, if someone was asked to perform a difficult job, he'd reply, "Do you think that I am Father Charbel to ask me to do all of these? I cannot live like Father Charbel or work like him." When the lay people saw Father Charbel in this state, constantly kneeling, in continuous silence, in uninterrupted prayer and total devotion during the Mass, doing the hardest job like the least of his servants, dressing despicably, neglecting worldly matters, they said, "Congratulations to him, this monk has lived as the past saints and hermits, of whom we've read in the book of Martyrology. He strengthens our faith, and we blame ourselves for our commitment to this perishable world." St Charbel, from his contemporaries to our era. Chapter 1, Part 2, 14. Charbel, student of St Namtal al-Hardini. His superiors sent him to the Theological Institute at St Cyprian in Fifene to complete the necessary studies for the priesthood. At that time, the principal of the institute was Father Namtal al-Kafri, a man of goodness and knowledge. In this atmosphere of learning and sanctity, Brother Charbel found what he was looking for. He accomplished, by his efforts and diligence, the greatest part of his studies in moral theology, besides the fundamentals of the Syriac and Arabic languages. and a harvest of other monastic virtues and of Christian perfection. When Father al-Ghafri was absent, Father Na'amtallah al-Hardini replaced him in teaching. Charbel was one of the best and the most talented students, smart and diligent, skillful in moral theology, and excellent in his other theological studies. His superiors and teachers showed full appreciation when it came to his person, praising his virtues and his monastically ideal behavior, so that he never had to be admonished or punished. He was a good model when he prayed, kneeling in the same spot. There was no pews in the church nor kneelers. His kneeling showed his perfect devotion, so that other students felt a deep respect when they saw him in this position, which led them to call him a saint. Hardini said, "I have a holy student who is Brother Charbel from Bar-Kafra." When Saint Na'amtallah died on December 14, 1858, Charbel was present.